Let me formally introduce the speaker for today and start this session. He is a trailblazer in sustainability, youth advocacy, and SDG implementation. He is founder and CEO of Skillistan, an organization that is working for youth empowerment, leadership, alongside capacity building. Mr. Khan holds distinguished academic career with his education from UK, which has led foundation for his initiative that is dedicated to building green skills and aligning workforce development in SDGs. He is a lead of Alquise in Pakistan. He has also attended COP29 and he is championing youth voices at different forums. Recently, Mr. Han has been awarded with a prestigious award in China. He will definitely be telling all of you about that. And he has trained and mentored thousands of people around Asia, and I really feel proud to be one of the mentees. Uh, as we all know that SDGs achievement is impossible without taking into account education, especially the education in STEM. So today's session focuses on empowering women in STEM as a catalyst for SDGs. So we welcome Sher Shah Khan here at WeEmpower. So over to you, Sher Shah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amara, and also Aisha, and the platform for inviting me for this workshop. This is a very important topic that we should be talking about more often. But yes, I'm so happy to have been invited for this topic. Okay, so yes, hello and welcome to this very important topic. And once again, the topic for today is empowering women in STEM, especially as catalysts for the SDGs. So I have been doing a lot for the SDGs, also trying to ensure gender equality in whatever I do. So even in the fellowship we run for Skillistan, we make sure we have at least half women. This time, we have like 60-40 ratio. So the women are getting more and more involved in the SDGs. And this is something that I'm really proud of because I see the ripple effect that women generate is larger than the ripple effect that men generate. So yes, that is how in my practice also I see that women can become catalyst for the SDGs in Pakistan. So let's begin with our workshop. What I did was that I created kind of a fresh module for you from a previous module that is about mastering SDGs and kind of added a bit of a woman aspect to it and especially women in STEM aspect to it. So yes, before we start, this is my usual. I check the pulse of my participants and just to know how excited they are for this workshop and how you can use the chat box to interact with me and the rest of the participants during the workshop. So yes, put in the chat box, score yourself honestly. If you're tired or something, you can, and if you're having a hard day, you can score yourself low. But if you're really excited, up to 100, you can write 100. I hope the chat box is open, right? Yes. So, yes, participants, how do you score yourself? I score myself 99, leaving that 1%. So if I get a good interactive participants list, maybe I achieve that one too. So Dr. Amar is saying 90. Aisha is 95% today. Nice. Yes, the rest of our participants. We have a small group that is good. Might be we get the chance to interact more because in a very big, like I have done massive workshops for the SDGs. My biggest one would be 1,000 participants in a workshop like this. But you know how much can we interact with 1,000 people? So I like smaller workshops, and I see some of our fellows here too. Parsa is here. Tarek, nice to see you. Dr. Maksood is here. So, yes, I hope you are all as excited as I am, or maybe more than that. I see Mari is at 95, Farsa 92.5, Zareen 85, Gul Zainab 95, and Umema is at 90. So, yes, let's keep the excitement up and let's talk about women in STEM and the SDGs. So, I still remember this quote, women are half the sky. And so over here, women are half the sky, but they have full potential for the SDGs. Rather, I would say, just as I gave you an example of our fellowship, I have seen the ripple effect that women are creating is more than the ripple effect that men are creating. So, yes, half the world, half the solutions also, maybe more than half the solutions. As women make up 50% of humanity, without them, the SDGs cannot be achieved. That's simple. And as we progress in this workshop, we are definitely going to talk about SDG 5 and how it is linked to all the rest of the SDGs. And if we decide not to work on SDG 5 and we say that, okay, we are focusing on the rest of the SDGs, this one SDG is going to haunt us so much that we are not going to achieve even the rest of them. Then, one important point is that there's a lot of untapped power in STEM, and women's participation in science and technology definitely fuels innovation. It brings in this diversity of thoughts and also inclusive solutions, because if in solutions women are not involved, usually women specific solutions, as we progress in the SDGs, these examples would come up. Then the multiplier effect that I've also told you about, that I felt in my initiatives, when women are empowered, families, communities, and economies thrive. And this accelerates progress across all the SDGs. And equity in action. So, gender equality is not just an SDG, which is goal 5, and also it's the most misunderstood goal. So usually when we do our SDG 5 workshop in detail, it clarifies many of the stereotypes that we usually have about gender equality. There's so many things going on in the name of gender equality, trying to pollute these concepts. But when you actually read SDG 5 and its targets and indicators, there's nothing in it that someone can be against it. Nothing. So it is a catalyst for every other SDG. And I think investing in women in STEM is investing in the success of the SDGs. And this is what would be cleared in this workshop. So, mainly, this module that I'm going to present, it's about basics to SDGs and how we can understand its power and also see. So additionally, today we are going to see women specific, what role women in STEM can play for it. And through these 2 hours, we are going to unlock some vital skills to lead sustainable change. There would be some practical strategies I will be sharing, all of you will be sharing. We'll be drawing inspiration from each other, kind of collaborate, discuss, and try to tackle these challenges. And last but not the least, I believe that each one of us has the power to bring about major change, become an SDG champion. But it's up to us how much time we invest in it. We do practice, practice, practice. So, yes, let's go forward and start with the basics. Maybe some of our participants are maybe joining a workshop on SDGs for the first time. So, let's understand the power of the SDGs first. So, for those of you who are maybe seeing the SDGs for the first time, no worries. Even, we are going to take you along. So, these are the 17 SDGs. They were given to us in 2015 and their timeline is 2030. Now, what are these? In more detail, we are going to cover them, but they are the larger global goals that we all have signed up for. As countries and also as individuals, we need them. So, the first one is no poverty, then zero hunger, good health and well being, quality education, not just education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, not just clean energy. The word affordability is very important. Decent work and economic growth, the three I's, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities. So, this also includes the village side and the peri-urban and suburban sides, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. We are going to go through each of them थोड़ा थोड़े details में, but yes, these are the 17 goals, very basics. Now, what are these SDGs? Usually, people don't understand the essence of the SDGs. So, they were given to us by the UN, but it's not that the UN imposed something on us. It was all the countries of the world trying to come up with a global framework for sustainable development. And this is not the first framework. In order to understand the SDGs, we must also know about the MDGs. So these were the set of goals that were a similar global framework, but their timeline was from the year 2000 to 2015. So they are the predecessors of the SDGs, and the SDGs are its successors. And it brings in a lot of learnings from the MDGs era. The second thing is the SDGs are smart goals. ये ऐसे कोई हवाई goals नहीं है, right? There is a lot behind it. They are specific, so they're not just some general things in there. When we read the details, we will get to understand they are measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and most importantly, they are time bound. So whenever we have a time bound goal, we tend to do more towards it. Even if all of you are keeping some personal goals, keep them smart, keep them time bound. And they're not just these 17 goals that we saw. And I know today we don't have time to cover all of them, but I'll just give you some glimpses of it so that food for thought, you can read further in your specific domain. So they are then further divided into 169 targets, and to measure the progress, there are 247 indicators. Now, there is one misconception about the SDGs that maybe they are all about the environment or the climate side. But out of these 247 indicators, only 92 are environment related. So means the rest of the indicators cover the other sides of sustainability that we are going to talk about. And when we study the SDGs and all the indicators and targets, we find out that there is an interconnected nature of these SDGs. We cannot leave anything out. I mean, just like I gave you an example of SDG 5, if we think that gender equality is not so important, let's focus on the rest of the SDGs. It's not the case. They are so interconnected that it's going to impact overall SDGs progress. So when we study all of these and see the sectors of development, it leaves nothing behind. So we have to understand the SDGs. It's kind of the vocabulary of the development world right now, development sector. So why are the SDGs important? Why do I stress so much on why do we need to stress so much in Pakistan? Is because I see people who want to do things, who want to do good things. For example, in the floods right now, there were many people who were trying to do relief activities, many things, right? I saw youth doing it, but did they have the right words for the causes they cared about, and trying to link it with some global platforms, ask for global help? And that comes from finding the right words for the causes you care about. So for example, if they are working for floods, and if they can link it to climate adaptation, for example, so those would be the right words. So the right words for the causes we care about are all within the SDGs. For example, I will also give you my own example. When we were launching the fellowship, and I had to uh, get some good guidance from the SDGs for it. So I chose a target. I'm going to show it to you, and that is my inspiration. So the right words for the causes you care about are within the SDGs. Secondly, just before this workshop, so I had a nice meeting with some Indian fellows, and it was about another thing, but we resonate when we talk about the SDGs or around development. It's a common language of all humans on earth. No matter our differences with, for example, India, we have a lot in common. They follow the same SDGs, we follow the same SDGs. So, yes, these things can bridge gaps also, understanding the SDGs. Now, quickly coming to the targets, and I know I cannot cover all the 169 targets, but I'll give you a few examples so that later on everyone can read the ones they want to read. I would suggest read all of them at least once. So, the first goal, no poverty. No poverty is the larger thing, right? It is further broken down into targets. By targets, we mean sub goals, objectives, try to break it down into achievable things. So the first one, 1.1, it talks about eradicate extreme poverty. And the second one, 1.2, it talks about reduce poverty by at least 50%. Now, if we just see these two statements, because they are a summary of the actual target just for graphic representation, but there is a contradiction in it. On the one side, we are talking about eradicating, means finishing completely, and on the second part, we are talking about reducing it by 50%. And the reason is that the definition of poverty is different for both of these targets. When we are talking about extreme poverty, we are talking about monetary terms. So, according to the recent poverty line, so it's like $2.15 a day. Anyone who is earning less than $2.15 a day is classified as extremely poor according to the international poverty line. But there is a lot more to poverty than money. So, for example, someone who would be earning 500 rupees, right, or 600 rupees per day in Pakistan, and they would still not be able to afford good health, good education, have a good living standard. So, here what we are talking about is multidimensional poverty. And to finish this kind of poverty is very difficult. That is why it says reduce poverty by at least 50%. In multidimensional poverty, we look at mainly three different sides, not just money. We look at health, we look at education, and we look at living standards. Let me just quickly have a glance at the comment section. Okay. Okay, great, Maria. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so but there would be some new perspectives in this one. So the third target then talks about implement social protection systems. I hope some of you know about social protection systems. If you know and you can give us some examples in the chat box, that would be great. In Pakistan, do you know any social protection system? And mainly it's being pushed by this target 1.3. It's not like our governments are so good. They are mainly directed by the global SDG framework to do things. And because of 1.3, this was happening. Wait, let me see. Okay, so you have the SIN social protection delivery in SIN. Is it like totally implemented, Tarek? Because I have not heard much about this. BISP, yes, SAS program. Thank you, Ali. That is a good example. Okay, Tarek is saying, yep, it's and what are like the beneficiaries? How many are they in SIN? It's a CCT, transfers based. Okay. So ASS, what is that? And Ehsas Kafalat program. Okay, it's for mental health. So again, when we are talking about a social protection system, there are many in the world examples. For example, आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि Scandinavian countries are very good. They have a good social protection system. So they give in good health, education, even living standards. आपका अगर जॉब चली गई तो आपको जॉब भी दे देते हैं, यानी employment benefits देते हैं, and so many things, right? So, the richer your country, the better the social protection system. Yeah, UK also has somewhat, yeah, but like Scandinavian is way better, right? UK में तो लोग NHS का रोना रो रहे होते हैं. So, yes, so these are just examples. एहसास program, which came from BIS, Benazir Income Support Program, was a more comprehensive version. क्योंकि Benazir Income Support Program, we were targeting women only and also maybe rural women. थोड़ा उसका scope कम था. एहसास widened the scope. So, and it needs a lot of room for improvement in Pakistan. So, yeah, let's move forward. The idea of showing you just a few examples of the targets is that there are many targets, and that defines the SDGs. Now, coming to some more examples across the SDGs for the targets. And this is one of the target that I was talking about that gave me inspiration to launch a whole fellowship around. So the right words that I got for the fellowship came from Target 4.7, and it talks about education for sustainable development and global citizenship. So something that we are doing right now, talking about the SDGs, this also contributes to Target 4.7, and there is more depth to it. 6.1, safe and affordable drinking water for all. 8.3, very relevant to all of us. It says promote policies to support job creation and growing enterprises. Enterprises are very important because they further support job creation. Then we have 9C. So when we have an A, B, or C written with a target, that simply means these are the supplementary or means of implementation targets. So 9C talks about universal access to ICT. Everyone should have internet. Only then can we go towards achieving SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And sadly, there are many areas in Pakistan who do not have good internet or no internet at all. Recently, because we opened some applications for people to join Skillistan, and many people from Gilgit and also Balochistan, they could not join. So just imagine the importance of ICT. Then target 13.3, something that I have contributed to a lot in Pakistan. This is also one of the areas which I am working on, that is to build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change. There's a huge gap in it. क्लाइमेट लिटरेसी का ये हाल है कि बहुत कम लोगों को, आई मीन इवन द वंस हु आर वर्किंग टूवर्ड्स इट, लाइक दैट डे समवन, मुझे गिला आया फ्रॉम यूथ क्लाइमेट स्पेस के किसी एक बंदे के बारे में, एंड इट वाज फ्रॉम WWF दैट वी कॉल्ड समवन, एंड you know that person was not worth it. They didn't even know the difference between mitigation and adaptation, the very basics of climate change. So, yes, we need to build our capacity as well. It's not about shouting about climate. Until and unless we don't have the right capacity, the right skills for climate diplomacy, advocacy, I don't think we can achieve much by just doing social media posts about it. So yes, these are some examples of the 169 targets. लेकिन I just wanted to give you one ऐसा example भी कि आपको पता चले कि it's not just this text, okay, that is written over here for graphical representation. If I am suggesting that you should read the targets, it's this full text that you should read, that is given to us by the UN, and there is a database for it online. you can easily access it. So 4.7, for example, the one that I got inspiration from, it says by 2030, ensure all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development. It's usually abbreviated as ESD in the development terminology, and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence. This is the most important thing for Pakistan. Global citizenship. So, building mindsets for people that they can think globally, act locally, but be global citizens. And appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. So, when I see our fellows, they come in from different areas of Pakistan with their different cultures, and when they mingle and create something together, that's what we are contributing towards, to appreciate cultural diversity and how this cultural diversity can actually contribute to sustainable development instead of building animosities within our country. So now, just quickly, out of the 247 indicators to measure the SDGs progress, I don't have much time to discuss 247, but I'll just give you one example. The previous slide, I showed you that this is one of the targets that I am contributing to build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change. Now, how do we measure it? We measure it through indicator 13.3.1. It says extent to which global citizenship education and education for sustainable development are mainstreamed into a national education policies. So policy advocacy is also something that I am doing and doing since 2 3 years, but it's a slow process. Then trying to build curricula here and there. If there is no intervention from my side in the government curricula, I can fill the gap by doing my own workshops, by doing capacity building initiatives and so on. And I've also worked on a project in Balochistan. It was a World Bank project, and we built curricula for aligned with SDG 13 for government teachers and also primary students. So, teacher education, for example, it's very important, and student assessment. So, these things should also be there in student assessment. Okay, so yes, AKDN is working. Yes, I'm good, Hisham. Pakistan Girls Guide Association. Okay, nice. Yeah, I have some very good friends over there. They are also working, and might we collaborate. Yeah, walaikum assalam. So let's move forward. Again, we need to cover some basics and then talk about the 17 SDGs also within these 2 hours. And now we have to just understand the 5 pillars of the SDGs quickly. Before the SDGs were being made, I told you there were the MDGs, then there were some problems associated with the MDGs, and there were some discussions around it, especially ये 2012 की बातें हैं. There was a Rio Plus 20 conference in Brazil, and it was basically reviewing the MDGs progress. And there were a lot of discussions from global leaders. One of the main point was that the MDGs were focused on poor countries only. तो होता ये है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर कोई रिच कंट्रीज हम पे कोई चीज इम्पोज करें तो वी डोंट एक्सेप्ट इट. So that is why such goals were created that were the same for all countries. मतलब ये SDGs इसी तरह they are applicable to US, they are applicable to Norway, they are applicable to every country in the world. So multi-stakeholder partnerships are required. Me and you can partner, Skillistan and WEmpower can partner, countries can partner. So all these kinds of partnerships. Then inclusiveness, integratedness is there. So they are all interlinked. And one of my most favorite concept that has been given to us by the SDGs, that's called leave no one behind. LNOB, usually it's used in UN language. So leave no one behind is a very important concept behind the SDGs. Then the SDGs have five P's as well. They are divided into planet, people, peace, partnership, and prosperity. So we'll just quickly go through these things. So these are the five main P's, five pillars of the SDGs. And another view of looking at this would be this this P. So this is one of my own kind of creation. The SDGs were not created by me, but how to organize them and make it easy to remember. So if you can see this, it's in the shape of a P, P for Pakistan. So you would not remember, you would not forget it. And also there is this science behind it. So when we see the five P's, three are the main P's. And what are these P's? They are mainly, if we look behind the history of the SDGs, we'll find out that there were different schools of thoughts of development. For some, one part was important. For others, the other thing was important. For example, for the environmentalists or people who were concerned about the planet, for them, these are development, the issues important for development. For the economists or the business minded people, for them, these are the ingredients for development. And similarly, for the people centric people, the philanthropists, the agriculturists, farmers, health side pe log, educators, feminists, for them, development is about people. So if people are not uplifted, nothing else is development. So these different schools of thoughts came together for the SDGs. And there are a lot of compromises within the SDGs that you will only notice if you read them deeply. But just for quick memory ke liye retention, so this P we created. So from 1 to 5, these are the people centric goals. Then forget 6 for a while. From 7 to 11, these are the prosperity centric goals. And then bring in 6, 12, 13, 14, 15. These are the planet centric goals. But most importantly, these last two goals, जो P का pillar है, and they are usually called the overarching goals. So their importance is so much that agar in ye block hat gaya, so this whole building is going to fall. And last goal is my favorite goal. The reason why I call it my favorite goal is because it's an all encompassing goal. So if we can have more and more partnerships and collaborations for the SDGs, we're going to achieve the SDGs. It's so central towards the SDGs. But peace, justice, and strong institutions, just for a while, think about Gaza right now. There's no peace. Can they even think about these goals? Or any other country? Talk about our own country. If there was no peace in Fata or in KP and Balochistan, so it's a barrier towards the rest of these goals. So that is the importance of SDG 16. I hope you'll remember the SDGs through this P now. So just quickly before we go to some more deeper learning, I wanted to tell you about the tracking mechanism of the SDGs. It's not that 2015 में बन गए and 2030 में हम देखेंगे कि हमने क्या किया है. It's being tracked every year. Data is needed for it. And that is why STEM and women in STEM are very important, because we lack a lot of data to showcase the progress or the baselines for the SDGs. And let's check this. So recently we got the 2025 Sustainable Development Report and also some data from the 2024 report. And I've also brought in some regional countries as examples for it, so that we can see कि बाकी लोग क्या कर रहे हैं और हम क्या कर रहे हैं. So Bangladesh is, I usually use Bangladesh as a good example to compare with Pakistan क्योंकि history तो हमारी एक ही है. Problems भी somewhat same है, बल्कि उनके ज़्यादा भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अलग अलग problems हैं. But just compare our development patterns. So I'll explain this once and then we'll go towards the other countries. What's this? ये 2024 का है. and this one is 2025 का same. So we are just comparing कि बांग्लादेश ने क्या किया 2024 से 2025 तक. So in the previous year, so you can see the green. Green means progress. और जो ये वाली लाइन है, it means moderately improving. जो बिल्कुल हॉरिजॉन्टल है, इसका मतलब progress is stagnating. And if there is a arrow pointing downwards, that means the progress is decreasing. So in all of these, Bangladesh had at least one green in quality education in the previous year. When it comes to this year, even that one green is gone and one more red is added, especially in sustainable cities and communities, because Bangladesh, just like us, they are having major issues in cities and flooding and so on. So yes, this shows us the country rank 114. So Bangladesh came 7 places down this year. This shows the performance per SDG. So overall, like 12, 13, they are doing good, but 5, 16, 11, these are going down. And also there is one more thing. So this is the region. So this is the country score. And then there is the regional average. So 69.5, because Bangladesh is East and South Asia region. So this makes it competition a bit tough because East Asia is good, right? So, and change in score since 2015 plus 8.3. This also indicates what's happening to overall score. So let me just check the chat box. Okay, and okay, Aisha is saying, I believe the UN has played an important role in identifying these gaps and shaping the SDGs. Do you think our youth is educated on them? Also, poverty is increasing in Pakistan compared to previous years, even though lifestyles have overall change improved. How do we measure this SDG? Yeah, there is a proper measurement mechanism behind each SDG. And about your question that whether youth is educated on them, so it's not, and we are trying to educate them. If you ask me percentage wise, because there are no stats, but I would say maybe 1 to 2%. So yes, let's go forward. अब बांग्लादेश का एग्जांपल आपको मिला है. Let's see the rest of the countries what they are doing. So we have our neighbor, one of the best examples for the world. We should be following China. And if you see their last year ka performance, so they were 68 out of 166, and no poverty or खासकर industry innovation infrastructure. This is where I want everyone to focus on, because industry and this goal basically uplifts all the rest of the goals also. But see, this year they jumped in so many places forward, 49th out of 167 countries. And this is SDG ka progress ka index. So whether we are making progress every year or not, SDG index banaya hai isse. And so SDG 1 again, 9 is here, but just 13 pe wo down gaye. And why do they go down on 13? Because of the high emissions that China does. But still 49th out of 167. Then India, because we are always in competition with India, so we need to compare where India is going. So India was 109th last year, doing good on poverty, not so good on SDG 13, but this year 10 places up, 99th out of 167. Still poverty is green, but also 10 reduced inequalities is also in green. So India is doing good progress. At least when our stats come in, you'll say, yes, India is doing good progress. Next, I usually put Indonesia also in comparison, because it's a Muslim country, it's a large Muslim country, and it has many more problems than us. How to cover it? Itne islands, dur, logistical challenge bhi hai, but still they are doing good. 78th out of 166 last year, this year 77th out of 167 countries. SDG 1 and SDG 4, quality education, very important. That's what's driving Indonesia forward. Next, Malaysia again 79 था 84 हो गया, up and down थोड़ा सा, but they are also doing good, especially SDG 1, no poverty. Then, when we see the Maldives, one of the most threatened countries by climate change and sea level rise, but still they are doing good. Last year they were 67th, this year they are 53rd, and SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 6 are doing really good. Next, Nepal. So actually, Nepal I brought in as an example because it's a mountainous country, very difficult to do development there. And this is why we say कि हमारे mountainous areas and very difficult to do development there. But even Nepal is doing good. 95 last year and 85th this year. Now come to Pakistan. So first I wanted to give you a brief about what's happening in the surroundings. So Pakistan, because I've been teaching the SDGs for several years now, and when we started, I guess we were somewhere in 114 या इस तरह करके. Then next year it was 122. Then next year it was 128. फिर 2024 का डाटा आता है 137. फिर 2025 का डाटा आता है 140th. So it's a downward spiral for us. We are just going down and down on the SDG ladder, and basically this means that we are getting out of the competition. Yeah. Okay, UNESCO says only 30% female in STEM research. I think first education and then education in STEM must be emphasized to actually make a change and compete the tech developing world. Yes, very important point. And Aisha is saying that's still very low, unfortunately. Hats off to you. Thank you so much. And I think collectively, together with all the participants, we can do so much more for the SDGs. Now, just focus on where we are lacking on this. So, in 2024, SDG 4 was going down, SDG 11, and most importantly SDG 16. आपको जब मैंने वो P का shape दिखाया, so in it 16 is very important. If you don't have good peace, justice, and strong institutions, everything else is going to go down. And sadly, this is what we've been seeing in Pakistan in the last 2 to 3 years, that governance systems are going down. And this impacts everything, even the SDGs. Here again, you can see SDG 16 is going down and 11 is also going down. And progress, मतलब green तो कोई नहीं है ना कि हम लोग कहें. And when we compare our progress since 2015, so we've just got only 2.5 points up. Regional average के हिसाब से भी हम बहुत पीछे हैं. And if you see the key goals like SDG 4 and also something very relevant for us today, SDG 5, we are not doing good on these, and that is why they are not driving the rest of the SDGs up. Especially, I would say women's barrier to education is costing us a lot. Are there any measures against the authorities who are a potential threat to SDGs? Yes, there are measures, but because it's an in-country thing too, SDGs, like we have to achieve it. There's no, मतलब ऐसे कोई force नहीं है आप पे कि आप ये जरूर SDGs अचीव करें. बट इट्स आवर ओन एहसास. अगर हम नहीं अचीव कर रहे हैं तो विल जस्ट बी गोइंग बिहाइंड एंड बिहाइंड. Sadly, people in Pakistan don't realize this, that we are losing on the ladder of development. So Tahir is saying Pakistan's education sector faces significant challenges, particularly in Fata, Balochistan, and Sindh. Despite ongoing efforts to improve education, these regions struggle with very low literacy rates, inadequate infrastructure, and socioeconomic issues. Yes, so true. When we study SDG 4, उसमें ये सारी डेप्थ में बातें. Let's move forward. I'll just give you maybe a few more things, food for thoughts. हुआ ये कि हमने एक फ्रेमवर्क बनाया एसटीजीज का. एंड आई एम रियली अगेंस्ट कैटेगराइजेशन विद इन द एसटीजीज, बट मे बी फॉर सम रीजन वी हैड टू डू इट. पाकिस्तान की बात है, एंड दिस इज इमरान खान की हुकूमत की बात है. देयर वाज अ previous progress going on it, and then these three priority categories were created for the SDGs according to Pakistan's context. And so SDG 2 and 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, they were, and 16, they were put in priority 1. Priority 2 में 1, 5, 9, 10, 11, 17 डाले गए. एंड थर्ड प्रायोरिटी दी गई SDG 12, SDG 13, and SDG 14 and 15 go. Now, because we work more in the climate side too, but I think this is an injustice that happened, and that is why we were haunted by these goals. For example, ये 2022 के flood से पहले की बातें. So one flood came in, we didn't do much on climate action, and one flood came in and it wiped the progress in the rest of the goals as well. So you cannot do kind of categorization in these goals, prioritization. They are all priority one, and we should be building our capacity towards achieving all of them at once. Otherwise, one goal can come back and haunt us. And even the current floods are an example. Yes, Maria, I agree with that. Water and clean water. So now quickly, yeah, for our understanding, because maybe we don't get a chance to study the SDGs again like this, but still kuch intro, just the basics of SDG 1. They are very in-depth goals. Matlab, we have a whole fellowship around it, so a 2 hour session for each goal. So imagine all the targets, indicators. There's a lot of depth to it, but we'll utilize this time well jitna hamare paas hai, and we'll just quickly go through all the 17 SDGs and try to understand especially women's role for it. So in SDG 1, it mainly aims to eliminate poverty in all its dimensions. I did talk a bit about the dimensions क्योंकि it's a multi-dimensional thing, poverty. It's not just money कि अगर आप किसी को 500-600 रुपए पर डे दे दो तो वो पुअर नहीं होगा. So there are health things, there are education, even living standards. So I've done one research on it. In Pakistan's context, when we were doing the MPI, multidimensional poverty index, district wise, तो उसमें कुछ चीजें हमने टेलर करनी थी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, फॉर लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, व्हाट डू वी consider as living standards that are not poor? So this is a very subjective thing, right? Country specific thing. And we suggested that, for example, owning at least one mobile phone per household. This would be very important. Or having a fridge in the household so that we can store food and all. Or maybe having at least a bike, or a bicycle can also work, but some transport thing as well. And the rest of the things included like ghar pakka ho, water ho, bijli ho, access to cooking fuel ho, and this is very much related to women's health as well, these things, right? So again, there is a lot of depth to all of this, but multidimensional poverty. Then also extreme poverty ki jo
Sorry,
monetary poverty.
Mr. Shah Sab, I would also like to ask a question because we're talking about poverty, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure.
हाँ जी, तो मेरा यही सवाल था, ये जो मैंने अभी आपको मैसेज किया था रिगार्डिंग लाइक हाउ डू यू मेजर पॉवर्टी, मतलब it's I mean all these factors that you've mentioned, they're indicators, but how would you measure it? Because now the focus is on poverty this year in Pakistan. तो मतलब आप किस तरह उसको for the report, obviously we have different groups. Would you knock on each door and find out कि किसके पास मोबाइल है या नहीं है, या किसके पास बाइक है या नहीं है? बिकॉज़ द वे आई सी इट इज़ कि मतलब एजुकेशन पे काफ़ी ज़ोर है, एंड आई डू फ़ील कि दैट सेक्टर इज़ डूइंग वेल, बट poverty has increased, which we all kind of see, and we feel it. But again, like how do we, मतलब मुझे ऐसा feel हो रहा है कि हम सिर्फ कह तो नहीं रहे, मतलब is it measurable, tangible? Sorry if you could highlight and address
Yes,
this.
thank you,
Thank you.
Aisha. Yeah, that's a good question. So what happens is we mainly rely on governments for these stats because it's very impossible for us to go and do this. Although ऐसे studies भी होती हैं, जैसे me as a student doing it or someone else as a student doing it and complementing the government data, but mainly this government data comes from large scale national surveys such as the PSLMs. पाकिस्तान में एक PSLM सर्वे होता है एंड ऑल्सो बिकॉज दो सर्वेज आर सो लार्ज एक 2 साल बाद उसका डाटा आता है सो आई हैव डन पर्सनली सम रिसर्च तो मैं वो डाटा वहां से लेता हूँ नाउ देयर आर सम flaws in that we also need to talk about. So especially when I used to see Balochistan's data, मतलब खुजदार और ऐसे जिले जो which are difficult to go. So I used to notice things in data. So when you play with data, what's the problem in this data. So there are a lot of capacity issues on the government side as well. And this is mainly led by Pakistan Bureau of Statistics, जो है, PBS. So PBS publishes such data. And also it's a representative sample. They cannot do censuses every year or 2 years, right? के सारे घरों पे. But वो जो census का data होता है, that also helps, which is every 10 years. उससे भी कुछ आ जाता है. But then the PSLM surveys, they are our main go-to for such data. Yes, Tahir, you would like to add something?
First of all, thank you so much, sir, for giving me a chance to share my thoughts. सर अगर हम देखा जाए ना अपने डेटा को है ना फाइंड करना तो हमने ज़रूर है ना कोई ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट की तरफ हमने जाना होगा या कोई ऑफिशियल अगर हमें वहाँ पे कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं मिलते तो हम ज़रूर है ना ऑफिस को जाना पड़ेगा लेकिन मुझे खुद है ना मैं अभी रिसेंटली में जो आपने देखा भी होगा जो मैंने रिसेंटली एक रिसर्च आर्टिकल इस पे लिखा था तो एजुकेशन के लिहाज से मैंने वेबसाइट पे देखा तो मुझे इतने बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे नहीं मिलती थी इवन हमारे फाटा के जितने भी इंफॉर्मेशन है हमारे फाटा के रिले जो इलाका है इस पे ही मेरा था लेकिन कोई भी ऐसे बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे नहीं मिल रहे थे इवन कि फिर मैंने ऑफिस को जाना होगा मैं इस टाइम इस्लामाबाद में ही था तो मैं बेसिकली वहाँ पे गया वहाँ पे मैंने बात की फिर इसने मुझे कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे नहीं दे रहा था लेकिन जब मैंने किसी और एक बंद से ना मतलब किसी और के फोर्स से ऐसा ही सोची सर कि मतलब किसी सेनेटर के थ्रू मैंने इससे बात करवाया कि सर ये काम है मेरा और मुझे ये नहीं करवा रहे तो इसी के थ्रू ही होता है मतलब हमको इन्फॉर्मेशन वो देते नहीं अगर इन्फॉर्मेशन होती भी तो वो हमको देते नहीं तो हम सर किस तरीके से वो ये जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है वहां तक हमें ना एक्सेस हमको मिल जाए कोई ऐसी और तरीका है without a reference.
थैंक यू ताहिर फिलहाल तो कोई और तरीका नहीं है टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट सो इन पाकिस्तान पर्सनल एक स्टोरी मैं आपको बताता हूँ आई वाज आल्सो डूइंग रिसर्चेस अ लॉट and I was waiting for this new PSLM data to come in 2021 and it was not coming आखिर 2023 में उन्होंने रिलीज किया है पुराना डेटा so there is a very slow backlog भी है and when I talk to my friends, so we do also have people in Pakistan Bureau of Statistics, it's so understaffed, capacity issues and budget issues and so on. And I agree, yeah, let's go on. I mean, complete the SDG Sares jaldi jaldi and then we do the Q&A. And yes, Aisha, I saw your COP29 one. I'm definitely going to talk about it. So again, if we link women in STEM and what they can do for poverty. They can create digital tools. They can create social enterprises that lifts communities out of poverty. And I see them. I totally support women in the grassroots level working for poverty. Then within STEM careers, they provide women with a higher income, opportunities, and thereby reducing gendered poverty gaps. So when we say gendered poverty, it gives in another perspective कि poverty poor तो हैं तो ज्यादातर तो वो women poor हैं, because the men, they can still go out and earn money. So for example, imagine poor households, conservative households, the men go out to earn money, the women, they stay at home, they are dependent on the men. So there is a gendered poverty lens as well when you look at poverty. And I think educating women is the answer to it. And educating women in STEM fields creates further chances of a higher income. And they can also give back a lot to society by creating such social enterprises and digital tools. Many more examples, but yeah, some example just to understand the data behind it, right? एक इसमें है indicator proportion of the world's population living below $2.15 per day. 2015 to 2019 realized data, and 2020 to 2030 is forecasted and projected in percentages. So these are global percentages of people. जब 2015 में SDG स्टार्ट हुए थे तो देयर वर 10.8% पीपल, and at that time this was not 2.15. मतलब this also changes, this increases according to poverty. उस टाइम मेरे ख्याल में 1.25 था, फिर 1.5 हो गया, and so on. So now before COVID 2019 में it came down to 8.5%. Now these are percentages, but this means millions of people, right? 10.8 से 8.5 आया. But then when you see this kink, this is because of COVID. Otherwise poverty ऐसे नीचे आनी थी, मतलब according to forecast. But one COVID came and it kind of wiped years of work towards poverty, and फिर ये downward line शुरू हो गया. So this COVID also pushed many more people into poverty, and according to the current projections for 2030, 6.5% people पहले होते, लेकिन अब due to COVID 6.8% people would still be just monetary terms wale poor. We are not talking about multidimensional poverty here. That's 1.2 target. This is 1.1 के अंडर. एंड इफ यू से कि अच्छा 0.5 0.8 इतना फर्क नहीं है, 3 points का फर्क है, but these 3 points means millions of people over here, and most likely they would be women. So this is the importance of understanding these SDGs in depth, पीछे data, targets, indicators. So this is one indicator of SDG 1. Now quickly going to the next one, that is SDG 2, zero hunger. So SDG 2, it mainly aims to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. When we talk about this goal, women have a very big role to play. As especially अगर हम अपने agriculture side की भी बात करें, still women are employed maybe more than men for farm work. When we talk about our household nutrition, who is the boss? Women are the boss, right? And similarly, saving food waste or all of these things come from women in the household. And we were also talking about how women can work towards, for example, composting and small things that can contribute towards the SDGs. But women scientists, when we talk about women in STEM, women scientists are leading these innovations right now in climate smart agriculture and food security. So recently we launched, we haven't made it public yet, but there is the World Food Forum, and under the World Food Forum there are national chapters. We are soon going to launch the Pakistan chapter. So those of you who are interested in this field, you should definitely look out for it and join our chapter. What we are seeing right now is many women in it. So I'm really proud of it. And we also nominated our lead to be a woman so that more women can feel comfortable joining the World Food Forum Pakistan chapter. So, and also just to give you some more details, this is under FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, and they have their headquarters in Rome. Every year there is a flagship event called the World Food Forum in Rome. Next month it will happen. So more things like those we are trying to bring to Pakistan as well. Then tech solutions like precision farming, AI driven crop monitoring benefit from women's leadership. I've seen women working in these fields, and I think women's leadership is really needed when it comes to these solutions for SDG 2 zero hunger, especially in AI. One of my friend, she was with me in China, and she has made Pak GPT के नाम से एक GPT for Pakistan. And the idea is she has put in local languages in it as well. So now rural women can talk to Pak GPT, and it can give them answers in their language. So these are the things that women are contributing right now to Pakistan. It makes me so proud. So again, an indicator, just to give you an example, out of many indicators जो SDG 2 के हैं, हम एक पे ही सिर्फ just for example, and it's called prevalence of undernourishment. If our children are undernourished, we cannot have a sustainable society. That's also it brings in further importance on the role of women when it comes to undernourishment. So again, Pakistan is over here मेरे ख्याल में ये 10 to 25% वाले में. You can see most of Africa is undernourished. South America में भी है. North Korea is an extreme case over here. Somalia and Central African Republic, Madagascar. Afghanistan is also facing a lot of malnourishment. India included, because when we talk about percentages, ये तो percentages है ना, तो इंडिया में फिर नंबर ऑफ लोग बहुत ज्यादा हो जाते हैं malnourished. But Pakistan is also मतलब we see stunting, we see wasting. And I remember Imran Khan once came on TV and he was showing all about the stunting and all. So these things are really important for us overall for the SDGs as well, and we have an indicator for it also. Yes. How to access Spark GPT? Spark GPT is open, but I will find some links, yeah, if I can. Yes, malnourishment has effect for other SDGs. So we are in, अगर आप poverty trap को देखें ना, so it अगर आपको नशो नुमा सही नहीं मिल रही है, so your brain development doesn't happen the way it should happen, and you are going to be in a poverty trap. That is why गरीब गरीब जो intergenerational गुर्बत रह रही है, that is because of malnutrition, and vice versa. Poverty is, pushing malnutrition, and malnutrition is pushing intergenerational poverty. Then, right? Yeah, it's a two-way street. So let's move forward in the interest of time. मैंने आप लोगों को कुछ question answers का भी time देना होगा. So good health and well-being. We see in this sector, women have a very big role to play, especially in promoting physical and mental health. So if you see the name of the goal, it's not just like well-being की जब बात आती है, so it also includes mental health and ensuring access to quality healthcare services. It's a very comprehensive goal, one of the longest. जब हम इसका workshop करते हैं तो usually it goes beyond 2 hours, but it addresses all the major health challenges. When we see women's role in it, so women as researchers, they're driving breakthroughs in all these healthcare, maternal health khaskar, because we need more women in it. When I see the biotechnology side, I see a better role of women. And then, so one of our own examples, right? One of our fellows, she created this TB AI. I'm talking about Hira Farid, and she used health tech to help fight TB in Pakistan just by integrating AI. So we need women in this side, and especially when it comes to women specific needs, childbirth and maternity. When we see so many women require health services, right? And also the mental health part. We need more and more women joining this side and contributing towards the SDGs. Yes, Dr. Hera is doing a wonderful job. Do check her TB AI. So now when it comes to the indicators, so there is one indicator for SDG 3 and it talks about density of select healthcare professionals per 10,000 population. So they usually are checking medical doctors and also nursing and midwifery personnel. So these are mainly global data, but it will give you a glimpse of what's happening in Pakistan. So the world, it's 16.3 doctors per 10,000 population and 39.4 nursing and midwifery personnel per 10,000 population. In South Asia, it's half, 8.1 and 15.2. Now, when we see doctors around the world, many are from South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. And when we see our own country ke halat, so it's this, right? Now, I don't even blame them because there are not so much opportunities, better pays, salaries, careers in Pakistan, and no one wants to go to the peripheries. They want to stay in the cities. The cities are very competitive for doctors. एंड ऑल्सो अगर आप देखें ना ये तो सिर्फ डेंसिटी बाय पॉपुलेशन आपको कह रहा है but when we go to the ground realities it would be like the density would be high in big cities Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, Peshawar. You'll find more doctors per 10,000 population, but when you go to the rural areas, for example मेरे गांव की अगर हम बात करें तो it would be maybe one doctor per 10,000 population or maybe even less than that. So this is the reality of brain drain because of doctors leaving the country. I did have a stats, but they're not so reliable stats. We cannot find the actual data of how many doctors left Pakistan, but they're in the thousands. Now let's quickly go to SDG 4, quality education, which is central to all the SDGs, also central for women empowerment. SDG 4 aims to provide inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all, emphasizing lifelong learning opportunities. So one of the main difference between how the MDGs considered education and how the SDGs is tackling it is that the MDGs just focus on primary education. Whereas here, when we read quality education and its targets and indicators, it's also talking about lifelong learning opportunities for all. कि अगर आप स्कूल से रह भी गए हैं या घरों में ऐसी औरतें हैं जो रह गई हैं स्कूलों से अपने टाइम में, so we should also be thinking about them, about their literacy and education and higher education. Everything is included. It's a very comprehensive goal. Now, when it comes to women as role models in STEM, they inspire other girls to pursue science and tech fields. In this regard, I would like to quote an example. So, I was once 2, 3 years ago, I got to know about this platform. It's called STEAM Safir, and it's run by the federal government का जो education है department. What they are doing is, for example, they're finding people like Dr. Amara or Dr. Parsa, and women in who can inspire other girls. And what do they want from you is maybe a 1 hour or a 2 hour session in a government school somewhere. It was because it was piloted in Islamabad, so I went to a government school in Islamabad and I chose the farthest school in Islamabad. So it was like in the rural areas of ICT. And so I was so inspired by this project because they are doing this in other government schools as well. मतलब 6th 7th की जो बच्चियां हैं लड़कियों के स्कूल में, you just have to go there, talk about STEM, inspire them so that they can also pursue. So I was mainly called in. It was, I think, kuch climate se related, and I had to talk about climate. And I still remember how those girls were taking interest. I translated my module into Urdu so that they can understand, and it was so impactful. So yes, digital education platforms developed by women, they also expand access in rural areas. I would like to quote a few examples from our fellows. For example, Sadia is nowadays running EDS, Educational Development Services, and she's training educators, and then they would go on to further educate other women and young boys and girls, especially for rural areas. But this is one area we can pursue the SDGs. So yes, there are a lot of indicators, but just one indicator as an example from SDG 4. This one is about proportion of youth and adults with ICT skills by type of skill. So there are many skills that can be gathered data for, but most importantly, communication and collaboration skills. No one teaches us these skills. Problem solving skills, safety, content creation skills. Nowadays, content creation is very important. Information or data literacy skills. In other places, I have also seen this indicator being interpreted in this way कि आपको एक बेसिक पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन बनानी आनी चाहिए. आई वुड प्रमोट कि आजकल आपको अच्छी वाली कैनवा की प्रेजेंटेशन बनानी आनी चाहिए. But yes, these are the skills in ICT that we have to work on to promote SDG 4 and also bring in women into this. Next, the central goal when we talk about women empowerment, and it's called gender equality. It's one of the most misunderstood goals. For anyone who has not read all its targets and indicators, I would request you to please read it. It focuses on eliminating gender based discrimination. It talks about violence, it talks about stereotypes, and it just wants to ensure equal rights and opportunities for all. It's not against men, and it has nothing controversial in it. Please do read all the targets and indicators. Now, increasing women in STEM, how is it going to help gender equality? The goal, it's going to break stereotypes and also ensure equal participation in innovation, especially female led STEM initiatives. They're going to highlight how technology can dismantle barriers for women. I think tech has the answer to many things. Tech has already changed many things for women. The barriers still exist. I wouldn't say, according to some stats, it would take 100 years or more to achieve SDG 5 gender equality. So I'm not saying there's a lot of progress in it, but if we have these goals, if we have more people understanding these goals, working towards these goals, especially women in STEM, because they have a very big role, they are researchers, they can add value, find data for it, help spread the word about it, explain it to someone. So this can significantly reduce the number of years from a century. Okay. Yes. Amina Noroz Ali. Okay, thank you. So let's move forward. इसका भी एक indicator quickly देखते हैं. And mainly one of its important indicator that I brought for you is proportion of seats held by women in national parliaments and local governments. So I believe, because I've also done one research on this, it was on female political participation across Pakistan. And we mainly analyzed all the elections, electoral datas, and we just wanted to find out कि पाकिस्तान के अंदर ही हम कहते हैं अच्छा औरतों को वोट की इजाजत नहीं है या नहीं जाने देते, लेकिन पाकिस्तान के अंदर ऐसे हलके हैं जहां 70% 80% टर्न आउट था. व्हाट्स डिफरेंट ओवर देयर? सो द आइडिया बिहाइंड द रिसर्च वाज to do this comparison across districts and find out the factors that are affecting such political turnout. And in that research, I realized that okay, we want women empowerment, we want their economic empowerment, we want their social empowerment, but what's stopping all of this? That's because women lack political empowerment. In my view, political empowerment is very important. With political empowerment will come both economic and social empowerment. And that's how the feminist movements also started. If you look at its history, women were first asking for the right to vote. And when the right to vote was given, it changed many things in the West for women. In our context too, we have the right to vote, but there are gatekeepers. There are many other factors in taking that right to vote away from women, and this then reflects in the number of parliamentarians that come. So we did also have a debate about the quota system. अगर कोटा सिस्टम ना हो, जो रिजर्व मेंबर्स हमारी पार्लियामेंटेरियंस आती हैं 20%, तो डू यू थिंक हाउ मेनी वुमेन वुड बी पार्लियामेंटेरियंस? एक दो शायद मुश्किल से जनरल सीट्स पे जीत के आए. The others are because of the quota system. Now there is an argument against the quota system, also an argument for the quota system. ये for वाला तो यही हो गया कि अगर ना हो तो शायद इतनी औरतें ही ना आए हमारे पार्लियामेंट में. बट द अगेंस्ट वन सेज कि because these members come as selected ones, not elected ones, so they are not so powerful. And they usually are there just to toe the party line. Party क्या कहती है, बस ये सारी खातून MNAs, they just vote for it. So this also is an argument, but overall, some countries, such as Scandinavian countries, they have achieved 50-50 for parliamentarians. Yes, women representation in policy making is important for solving many problems linked with women. जब women नहीं होंगी तो women की बात, and right to vote, right to lead. Yes, little by little one travels far because Rome wasn't built in a day. I totally agree with you. So this, just to interpret this, हम Central and Southern Asia में हैं, ये triangle हमारे parliamentarians हैं, and we have around 20%. But local governments may we have a higher percentage, because India में भी and even Pakistan में भी local councillors वो भी quota system है ना, तो we have a high percentage of local में women, and I think this should increase and it will change many things. Then clean water and sanitation. So it aims to ensure universal access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities. We have women engineers and we have some very good examples. They design water purification and sanitation technologies for vulnerable communities. One of my own students, she designed a very good project, and it was mainly a combination of many things. So it was rainwater harvesting, सेविंग इट इन द ग्राउंड, ग्राउंड वाटर रिचार्ज भी था उससे, एंड छोटा टैंक भी था, सो वी कैन ऑल्सो यूज इट. And she had integrated all of this with a kitchen garden. So there are so many things that women are doing, and they just need more of our support to replicate it. Then women in STEM leadership, it especially they are important when it comes to wash. Women have specific needs, and when men go into such fields, they don't understand women's specific problems. So we need more and more women in these fields as well, so that they can address women's specific issues. नेक्स्ट, क्योंकि टाइम थोड़ा कम है तो आई जस्ट गो क्विकली विद दिस. इसका भी एक इंडिकेटर है. इट चेक्स ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, सैनिटेशन एंड हाइजीन, एंड इट्स टॉकिंग अबाउट बिलियंस ऑफ पीपल हेयर. तो ये 2.3 बिलियन पीपल थे, एंड नाउ इट बिकम्स 2.2. सो थोड़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट हुई है. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू अर्बन एंड रूरल डिफरेंसेस, रूरल में इम्प्रूवमेंट है एंड अर्बन में नहीं है. Then sanitation, 3.8 billion people and 3.5 billion. And also then hygiene, 2 billion people without safely managed basic hygiene services. So this mainly shows कि half of the world के पास तो sanitation facilities ही नहीं है. And this is especially problematic when it comes to women. So in India, for example, you would have seen the movie Toilet movie, आप लोगों ने देखी होगी. They took a whole of a country approach towards this goal, and they even included Bollywood in it कि movie बनाओ इस बात पे, because our people listen to you more than the government, and it's called the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan project. It means Clean India Mission. And we also need to do something like that. Now, the problems associated with not having a toilet at home was ओपन डेफिकेशन, राइट? ओपन डेफिकेशन से और बहुत मसाइल हैं, लेकिन स्पेशली फॉर वुमेन, दे यूज टू गेट these diseases, they used to get harassed, and so many things because of open defecation in India. And also this happens in some of our rural areas. It's not that this is just an India specific problem. So let's move forward in the interest of time. SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. SDG 7 focuses on promoting renewable energy. It talks about energy efficiency and universal access to affordable and reliable energy sources. I usually quote an example in this, and it's called Solar Mamas. Solar Mamas के बारे में आप ज़रूर search करें. It's a nice project in India. And what they have done is they have trained these remote rural women. It's usually called the barefoot college. मतलब नंगे पैर गरीब औरतें, गांव की एजेड औरतों को उन्होंने ट्रेन किया हुआ है इनटू मेकिंग सोलर पैनल्स. मतलब टेक्निकली उनको ट्रेन किया हुआ है, एंड दे आर मेकिंग सोलर पैनल्स एंड दे आर इंस्टॉलिंग सोलर पैनल्स. मोर देन 20,000 households they have reached through this. So I think that we also need something like solar ummis in Pakistan. Maybe it can solve our problems more. So women innovators are pioneering things in solar, wind, and also off-grid energy solutions, and we need more women in energy tech so that we can close these gaps in energy access, especially for women. Women are affected a lot because of lack of energy. And when we talk about energy, उसमें cooking fuel भी आता है, right? It's not just electricity. So the cooking fuel part, that is what is a very big problem for women, especially in rural areas. They first have to go and fetch some firewood and then come, and then the smoke that generates at house. तो SDG 3 पे भी impact आ गया and so on. So again, one indicator as example for it, इसमें share of renewable sources in the final energy consumption and by end use. So total final energy consumption में अगर हम देखें, it's 19.1 according to 2020 data. थोड़ा सा improve हो गया होगा. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की अगर हम बात करें, उसमें परसेंटेज ज्यादा है रिन्यूएबल का 28, बट ट्रांसपोर्ट में कम है. दैट इज व्हाई वी आर सीइंग दिस बूम इन ईवीज एंड ऑल, because we need to bring in the transport sector out of the fossil fuel industry. And then also there is heating involved. So heating maybe abhi 24% is renewable. So let's move forward. SDG 8, very relevant for all of us, decent work and economic growth. It aims to create sustainable economic growth, productive employment, and decent work opportunities for all. When we talk about STEM industries, they are high growth sectors, and I think this is where women's participation is going to drive not just inclusive economies, but it's going to push our economic growth a lot. This is one area that I see a comparison. I feel like we should do a comparison between Bangladesh and Pakistan. And when you see कि बांग्लादेश ने ऐसे क्या किया, so this is the only thing they did, that they opened, they closed down all the barriers for women participating in the economics. And this might also be a factor of their population growth rates coming down. Because if you are, अगर women घरों में ही हैं, so then population growth rate is going to increase. But if you employ women in industries, so when we were seeing the labor force participation rate of Pakistan in non-agriculture sectors, it was 5%. Like 5% of all women in Pakistan are associated in non-agriculture sector, and 20% are associated in agriculture sector. 75% are not working. They are not in the labor force participation के जो stats हैं. So I think this is where we need to do something for our economy, that we bring down the barriers to women's participation in economics. It's going to change the whole picture for our economy. Then I see in the startup ecosystem of Pakistan, I see these women-led startups, and they're boosting local economies and also creating green jobs. So we should be promoting more of this. Next, so one indicator that tells us about whether we have decent work and economic growth, खासकर decent work wala side, it's whether we have informal employment or not. So in Pakistan, I would say 80 to 90% is informal employment. What do we mean by informal employment? कि आप किसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के बगैर रख लें, you're giving them तनख्वाह, the moment you feel like firing them, you fire them. Job security नहीं है. So things like these are detrimental for SDG 8, and this is a lot in Pakistan. Yes, I agree, Sayed Sikandar. So in this data, अगर आप देखें overall Central and South Asia का 84.8%, मतलब more than 80%, it's informal employment, which is not good. Yes, Maria, successful brands are being run by women. नेक्स्ट इसी में एक है, इसको नीट कहते हैं यूएन लैंग्वेज में, यूथ नॉट इन एजुकेशन एम्प्लॉयमेंट और ट्रेनिंग, NEET. And again, in Pakistan, we are trying to contribute towards it, but there are a lot of youth, millions, who are neither in education nor in employment, neither getting training somewhere. We want to reach out to the grassroots level, but there is a very big gap over here, especially when you see females. So you can see over here, this is Central and South Asia, 48.7% women are neither in education, employment, or training. And when you compare the men, so it's 15.4. Average आ जाता है 31.4. So there is a big difference between men and women, not in education, employment, or training. So we have to fill these gaps somehow. Okay, it would be better if the graphs. So basically, you are becoming a global citizen, right? So you have to see what the globe is doing and also talk about Pakistan. So, yes, SDG 9, Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure. It focuses on developing sustainable and resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and also fostering innovation. What I see over here is women engineers and scientists. They are very important. They design resilient infrastructure, innovative technologies, and I think because I've also worked in gender diverse teams, I think gender diverse STEM teams, they deliver more inclusive innovations, because sometimes when we are brainstorming amongst males, right, we skip things that usually women points out. And I think in all these areas, especially in industries, we also need women to bring in those inclusive innovations. So next, an example from this would be the R&D expenditure as a proportion of GDP. Recently, when we were seeing the data for Pakistan, it's very less. 0. पता नहीं कितना था. I don't exactly remember. If some of our fellows remember, you can tell me in the chat box. But yes, 0.58% इधर Central and South Asia का आ रहा है, and the world is averaging at 1.93. So those who are spending on R&D, they are going to go ahead, and countries like us who are not taking R&D seriously, we are going to lag. And R&D is not just the government. मतलब प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी R&D होना चाहिए, and R&D expenditure should be, budget should be high. When we were seeing, the highest budgets were for Israel and South Korea, and see where they are going, right? It's because of R&D expenditure. Yes, yes. Yes, we do have data for it, Sikandar, but that is like we do it in our fellowship and it's very detailed. So, yeah, this is just a brief from it. So yeah, let's go to the next one in the interest of time because I'm also keeping check of time. SDG 10 is about reduced inequalities. It's not just about gender, it's about other inequalities such as income, opportunities, access to resources and services. And I think that women in STEM, they challenge systemic inequalities, and they can bring inclusive perspectives to tech design. And then representation ensures marginalized groups benefit from innovation. So if women from marginalized groups come in and shine in the STEM field, they can also do something back for their communities. One example of an indicator is proportion of the overall population experiencing discrimination by selected grounds and sex. So this is a global data now. पूरे ग्लोब का डाटा है एंड इट मेनली टेल्स यू कि किन किन बेसिस पे लोगों के साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होती है. एक तो हमने जेंडर इक्वालिटी में भी चूके पढ़ा है बट इट्स ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ सेक्स ओनली. यू आर अ मेल, यू आर अ फीमेल, ये वाला डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. So in this aspect, you can see women face more discrimination. So जितना ये line बाहर की तरफ होगा, it would mean more discrimination. And men face less discrimination on the basis of sex only. But when it comes to ethnicity, color or language, आप पठान हैं, आप पंजाबी हैं, आप बलोची हैं, आपका रंग ऐसा है, आपकी जुबान ऐसी है, men face more discrimination, but it's not just men. Women also face discrimination on this. Then age. आप बूढ़े हैं, आप छोटे हैं, these kinds of things come in age-based discrimination. Then religion. So religious tolerance is a big issue, especially for us in Pakistan. Intersectarian tolerance is a big issue, not just religious tolerance, and men face more discrimination based on this. Then when it comes to political views, this is one of our biggest challenge in Pakistan right now because we are seeing discrimination based on your political views. Just because you are associated with a political party, you are being labeled things, and it's not just one way, it's two way, right? पॉलिटिकल व्यूज के बेसिस पे लोगों को गालियां देना, लोगों के साथ लड़ाइयां करना. So this is the extreme that we are seeing. And then marital status. So I have personally seen such cases in organizations. If a woman gets married or she gets pregnant, so she's considered a liability on the organization, and I mean, usually they are discriminated against and कोई और बहाना उसके लिए बना के they are fired. So yes, when it comes to marital status and sex, women get more discrimination. But political views, religion, and ethnicity, men get more discriminated. So let's move forward. SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, very important for Pakistan in the current context. जब हम ऐसी सिटीज बनाएंगे जो रावी रिवर पे होंगी तो डेफिनेटली इट्स गोइंग टू बी फ्लडेड और अनप्लैन्ड आबादियां, ड्रेनेज सिस्टम्स बीइंग चोक्ड इन अर्बन प्लेसेस, flood belts पे बने हुए हैं. There's so many problems, right? You all know about this. So thankfully we have a goal for it. It's called SDG 11, and it emphasizes on the importance of sustainable urban development, inclusive, safe, and resilient communities. इसमें वुमेन आर्किटेक्ट्स एंड इंजीनियर्स का बड़ा रोल है एंड is especially leading sustainable urban design, smart cities. And I know a few of, so recently I met an architect who was working in designing spaces so that women feel safe. So I was like, I've never heard of such a thing. So STEM innovations from women, they can tackle housing, mobility, because transport is also under this, urban transport, and also climate adaptation in cities. Okay. Yes, I agree. Let's move to the next one. Proportion of global urban population living in slums. So, when it comes to SDG 11, the first thing we have to talk about is slums. So, अगर हम ये वाला देखें, total slum population in millions, ये जो गोल गोल दायरे हैं. So, total slum population is increasing. On the right side, you can see it's 1050 million and शायद इससे भी ऊपर हो. बट परसेंटेजेस जब हम ये वाला देख रहे हैं, सो परसेंटेज इज डिक्रीजिंग, राइट. 31 से स्टार्ट हुआ था एंड राइट नाउ इट्स गोइंग टू बी 24%. सो समटाइम्स परसेंटेजेस कैन बी मिसलीडिंग. दिस इज अ परफेक्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ इट कि परसेंटेज में तो हम कह रहे हैं कि ग्लोबल अर्बन स्लम पॉपुलेशन इज डिक्रीजिंग परसेंटेज वाइज, but number wise, head count wise, it's increasing by millions. It's increasing. And when we talk about our own country, इस्लामाबाद की आप बात करें, इस्लामाबाद के हर सेक्टर में तकरीबन एक स्लम एरिया है. एंड यूजुअली इट्स बिल्ट ऑन फ्लड बेल्ट्स एंड वल्नरेबल जगह, राइट, जो हमने छोड़ी हो एंड गरीब आके वो बात कर लें. सो दिस ऑल्सो इन increases their vulnerability to disasters because they are living in slum areas. Okay, I am not even talking about trans. If you go to SDG 5 gender equality, I don't think you'll find the word trans. It's transsexual. Yes, I agree. It's also included in gender equality. But when you go to SDG 5, yeah, it talks about gender equality, yeah. And it includes transsexuals too. So next, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. SDG 12, it aims to promote sustainable consumption and production practices, mainly to minimize waste, reduce environmental impact, and foster sustainable lifestyles. And I think that women scientists, they drive sustainable materials, recycling technologies, circular economy models. I see one of our colleague, she's doing a lot. So her name is Zainab Naeem. She works for the SDPI and she's doing very good things around circular economy models in Pakistan. Then gender balance in STEM, it ensures consumption patterns that reflect diverse needs. Then estimated total food waste and food waste in households per person. So when it comes to Pakistan का data, हम लोग households में बहुत कम food waste करते हैं. We save it, we eat it the second day, third day, and so on. So it's a culture. First of all, तो हम ज़ाय नहीं करते. But when it comes to commercial food waste, that's a lot. शादियों की अगर हम बात करें, there is a big problem over here. And this also includes other food waste. For example, जो supply chains में waste हो रहा है, जो farm पे waste हो रहा है, picking में waste हो रहा है, cold storages नहीं है. So all of those things are also included in this. Next, climate action, one of the most important goals, something we should be talking more about. SDG 13. Usually ऐसे भी होता है कि people know about SDG 13, they don't know about the rest of the SDGs. SDG 13 mainly focuses about mitigation, adaptation, and increased resilience. Women researchers lead climate modeling. They are working in the renewable energy, in adaptation solutions. And I think women in STEM can amplify community resilience to climate risk, especially अगर आप गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में देखें, because their women empowerment का ज़रा हालात अच्छे हैं, especially in the north. So I see women leading these local community resilience measures, especially in response to GLOFs and all. So this is one area women can also play a big role. Then quickly going to SDG for, sorry, this is the most important chart. Probably everyone has to understand this. This shows global warming and its average temperatures being increased since the industrial revolution जो 1850 में हुआ था, and it was not felt until more than 120 years. मतलब 1850 से कहीं 1970s में ये पिकअप होना शुरू हुआ है कि we noticed it, and that's why we are seeing the environmental movements or conferences, just like the Stockholm Conference in 1972, which laid the basis for climate action. So these are all happening because we are seeing this trend upwards. And अगर हम recent बातें करें तो we've almost reached 1.4, and 1.5, the Paris Climate Agreement target, we're going to reach it before 2030. And what does this mainly show? ये आपको बता रहा है कि every other year, whether it was warmer or not. So post 1970s, we are seeing that temperatures are increasing every year. So next, SDG 14, it's life below water. It emphasizes the importance of protecting marine ecosystems, reducing marine pollution, and promoting sustainable fisheries. इसमें अगर मैं देखूं, हमारे अपने कुछ fellows, they are working as marine scientists. They are developing solutions for ocean conservation and also sustainable fisheries. And I believe that if there is gender inclusiveness in research in the blue economy, it's going to ensure fair access to resources, because in the end, empowerment comes from owning resources. And if we leave a whole field for men to only play in, then, blue economy, no women, no benefit for women. So this is also one aspect of looking at it. Again, this is about plastics and how they end up on our beaches from inland sources, from marine paint, cosmetics. So road paints हैं, building paints हैं, textiles, and so on. And again, it's a bit complicated, but various sources end up polluting the seas, and then it impacts us because we are dependent on the sea for food as well. More than 1 billion people are dependent on sea-based economy. Then life above land, it talks about biodiversity loss, it talks about desertification and promoting sustainable land management practices. And I see, especially in biodiversity, I see more women active in Pakistan. So I would like to quote the example of one of my friends. She runs the Pakistan Youth Biodiversity Network, PYBN. It's part of the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. If some of you are interested in it, you can join that. Her name is Maria Basi, and she's working a lot towards monitoring biodiversity and training these young people to do more for biodiversity. And I think women leadership in this is very important, especially to integrate local and indigenous knowledge into science. An example from this would be trend in forest lands. So when you see, so this is an indicator, this data is a bit old, but we are deteriorating our forests, we are going down, whereas India, China, all our neighborhood, it's in green, they are increasing their forest cover. So this is SDG 15, quickly going towards SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. It focuses on peace, justice, strong institutions, and also inclusive governance. So when we see its targets and indicators, we need more women in it, because women in data science and AI, they can promote more transparency, accountability, and also inclusive government. Then STEM empowerment, I think it reduces both exclusion and strengthens democratic participation. So we were talking about women's female political participation in Pakistan. And I think if we have more and more women educated, especially in the STEM fields, this can also strengthen our democracy. Okay, so there is one indicator for it. It talks about conflict related deaths of civilians. Last but not the least, this is my favorite goal as well. It's called Partnerships for the Goals, and I think it requires multi-stakeholder partnerships. various collaborations, small, big, it doesn't matter. Me and you can also collaborate on something. And women, I think, are very important, especially women-led STEM networks. They can foster collaboration across borders, especially for global solutions such as the climate aspect. And then cross-sector partnerships also thrive when women innovators are at the table. I've seen this firsthand that when women are there on the table, the discussions are different and more serious amongst men. So yes, this is another and last example of SDG 17. It has many indicators, but one important indicator is whether the developed world is giving us enough money or not. Because historically, they have developed based on colonial exploitation, and they have to give us back. How do they give us back? According to SDG 17, they have to spend 0.7% of their income, gross national income, on the developing world. And it comes through various ways. So, for example, the bilateral development projects, CPEC, for example, the multilateral ODA, for example, the World Bank financing something for us, then the humanitarian aids, things that come with, such as floods, and then in donor refugee costs. For example, we hosting Afghan refugees and the money that comes for us. So overall, this is global stats, but just to understand what is ODA and how money has to flow from the global north to the global south. So again, now I put the ball in your court. After studying all the 17 goals very briefly, what do you think? Do you think something is missing over here and we should be having an 18th global SDG? If there is something, maybe you can share it with us. And yes. So anyone who would like to contribute, do you think there should be an 18th goal? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Miss Maria is very talented. Corruption is missing, Sayed Sikandar is saying. Corruption is in every area. AI ethics is missing. SDGs should be made compulsory by force. Nice one, Maria. Space sustainably. Yeah, space is missing. Yeah, space is definitely missing. And again, I would say जब 2015 में ये goals आ रहे थे ना, तो शायद उस time ये space race, it was more like a dream. But right now, if you ask me what's happening in the space race, I believe everything. If you tell me they are going to Mars, I believe it. They'll go to Mars one day. Okay, Sumera wants to add something.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Hello,
assalam,
assalamu
Sumera.
alaikum. Ji, Sir, I just want to add one thing here. Like as you mentioned that it was just introduced in 2015. Since then, it was not the need of our, like you were working according to those global issues. So might be in upcoming years from current situations to onward now, maybe we are facing some sort of different challenges that it can be the need of the hour to introduce SDG 18, 19, or many more. It depends on all the global changings.
Sure, sure. You're spot on, Sumera. So again, I was also reading from the chat box, and thanks for your inputs also, Sumera. And the chat box is also giving us a lot of ideas कि कुछ तो रह गया है इसमें से. Zareen is saying mental health and well-being. It was covered SDG 3. वो तो हो गया ना. Family time as an SDG. So again, if you ask me, yes, even right now I'm sacrificing some of my family time over here. but this was also very important. So before, when I was coming to this workshop, my wife was like, workshops तो weekends पे थे ना, फिर अभी क्या? मैंने कहा this is a special one, right? So orphanage system, global migration, no war, mainly under SDG 16 की बातें हैं ये, global migration and also no war. Increased need of technology. So yeah, let's, because we have less time, थोड़ा सा जाते हैं. Should space become the 18th SDG, space for all? Because right now what's happening is there's a space race. We are talking about lasers being run from space who can destroy कुछ भी जमीन पे, destroying other satellites and so on. Space wars की बातें हो रही, which the SDG doesn't touch right now. So yes, this might be, again मैं आपको एक और बात बताऊं, this is just an brainstorming session. If we are serious about an 18th SDG, आपको पता है वो कैसे आएगा? वो पहले UN से पास होगा, फिर हर एक कंट्री उसको रेटिफाई करेगी, then it will become an 18th global goal, because all these goals were also 17 goals SDGs जब आए तो parliaments ने इनको ratify किया. So in our case too, in Pakistan, we unanimously adopted the 17 goals as our national goals too. Apart from they being the global goals, SDGs are also our national goals through a parliamentary resolution. So yes, yeah, let's go forward and just wrap it up. दूसरा एक important aspect जो I think the SDGs might not have covered well, that would be meaningful and a safe digital life. Because nowadays we are all online, especially after COVID, जो digitalization शायद 2030 में आती, वो अभी हम देख रहे हैं 2025 में. And it's not so safe. People are getting hacked, people are getting scammed, there are online harassments, so many problems, especially for women. I usually ask my fellows कि आप पिक्चर क्यों नहीं लगा रहे हैं लिंक्डइन पे, and they feel so afraid of God knows what, but yes, there are problems for women, right? They are not afraid otherwise के वैसी. So these are the things that we need to also talk about that are hampering our development. Yes. Thank you. Attendance आपको, आपके names मेरे ख्याल में they are getting noted. So there are some other examples. दो की तो हमने बात की, zero NML exploitation भी है, physical activity and sports for all, youth equity. So these are all proposals on the global level. Now, when it comes to country specific, I just want to brainstorm some things with you over here. This is amongst आखिरी time है. बट लाओस इज अ कंट्री, लाओ पीडीआर भी उसे कहते हैं. उसमें एक ये मसला था कि देयर वर 80 मिलियन क्लस्टर सबम्यूनिशंस दैट वर अनएक्सप्लोडेड इन देयर कंट्री. उनके लिए ये एक बहुत बड़ा मसला था, क्योंकि वो कहीं जा नहीं सकते थे, कोई एग्रीकल्चर नहीं कर सकते थे, कोई टूरिज्म नहीं कर सकते थे, एंड पीपल यूज टू लूज देयर लिम्स, राइट, लाइक दिस वन. So they came up with this national SDG 18. ये सिर्फ उनकी कंट्री के हद तक है, एंड दे फॉलोड द सेम यूएन प्रोसेस. इसके लिए टारगेट्स बनाए, इसके लिए इंडिकेटर्स बनाए. तो इस नजरिए से अगर आप देखें SDG 18 को, कंट्री स्पेसिफिक भी हो सकता है SDG 18. सो अगेन, टॉकिंग अबाउट पाकिस्तान, कैन यू थिंक ऑफ अ कंट्री स्पेसिफिक SDG 18 फॉर दिस कंट्री, जो शायद बाकी 17 गोल्स में हो कुछ उसके रिलेटेड, लेकिन इट्स नॉट सो वेल कवर्ड, आई वुड से. Okay, yeah. And those of you who have not mentioned, आपका अब फॉर एग्जांपल आपका वेलकम नाम है, सो डू रीनेम योरसेल्फ ताकि आपकी अटेंडेंस पता चल सके. यस. सो पार्लियामेंट हर्डल, ओके, should be a separate goal for religious harmony. I accept that as a good idea, Sayyid Muntazir. But yeah, let's just quickly go because we have very less time. No corruption is my proposal for Pakistan, because when my students ask me a lot of questions कि SDG ये वाला क्यों नहीं हो रहा, वो वाला क्यों नहीं हो रहा, मसला क्या है, मसला हर जगह में करप्शन का है। लाओस का मसला था एक्सप्लोडिंग बॉम्ब्स का, हमारा मसला है एक्सप्लोजिव बैंक नोट्स का। जिसके भी हाथ में जाए वो अपना ईमान बेच देता है। सो अगेन देयर इज इट्स culturally ingrained, so much ingrained in our society that although SDG 16 में इसके targets and indicators हैं corruption के, bribery के, money laundering के, but that's not enough for us. We need a separate 18th SDG, शायद फिर कई SDGs का कोई पाकिस्तान में प्रोग्रेस निकल सके। 140th पे हैं अभी हम। So yes, the last activity for all of you, just choose the 3 SDGs that you care the most about. So you can say SDG 1, 2, 3 इस तरह करके। I hope you remember some of them. Health के साथ अगर आपका है तो 3 है, education is 4, gender equality is 5. So, and the idea is just so that you write and then you do something for it. So yes, I see your emails. Okay, trainee accountants in my organization. Maybe Hassan, you can drop me a message on LinkedIn and we can see. Iman is saying 3, 4, 5. Gul is saying 6, 10, 13. 13, 4, 5. Tathir. Sayed Sikandar is focusing on 3, 5 and 13. Nice. So again, I just wanted to tell you कि हम सारे अगर मुख्तलिफ SDGs पे फोकस करेंगे and we contribute towards it, in the end we'll be contributing to all the SDGs. और वो जो पाकिस्तान का हाल आपने देखा है कि 140th हैं हम, वो तब भी अच्छा हो सकता है जब हम सब अपना रोल प्ले करें. So with this, I would just wrap my part. I know this was very long, but you can all join Skillistan. We have some amazing opportunities open right now on the district level, on the division level. We want more and more volunteers joining our teams. And also the fellowship batch 4 applications are open if you want in-depth SDGs, because 2 hours I did try to do justice to it, but the SDGs, they are way beyond 2 hours, right? So if you want in-depth knowledge, might be join our fellowship, and that would be all. Do mark your attendance by writing your name and all. Connect with me on LinkedIn to stay connected and find many such other opportunities. So that would be it from my side. Dr. Amara, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sher Shah. It's really nice every time listening whatsoever you are presenting, and this time this SDGs workshop really focusing on women in STEM. Um, uh, the whole presentation was very ऐसे आपने ऑडियंस को बांध के रखा. मैं तो वो सारा नीचे इन्फॉर्मेशन देख रही थी कि वुमेन इन स्टेम जो हैं उनका रोल हमारी सोसाइटी के अंदर, इवन we talk about SDGs, but most of us working in STEM, we are not aware of actually what we are contributing to the society. अपने educational sector के अंदर even we don't know what we are contributing to the society. So ये awareness to the all the females working in STEM, serving their country, serving their institution, their society, थोड़े से बड़े लेवल तक अगर देखा जाए तो बहुत ज़्यादा इनपुट है. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ने इसको ज्वाइन किया हुआ था, इस वर्कशॉप, इस seminar को, workshop को, whatever we can call it, but I know at the end they were giving that किस SDG के साथ वो लिंक करते हैं, and I was feeling it good कि वो इस चीज़ को आफ्टर दिस सेशन एनालाइज कर पा रहे हैं कि कौन सा SDG है जहाँ पे वो कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं या उनकी रिसर्च जो है वो उस पर फॉल करती है. So WeEmpower is really grateful for your time.